Hello, so we'd like to look at June of 2012 Algebra 2 questions together. So the first one, number 1, what is the product of this expression and the second one? You see, as you can notice, that they look about the same except this one has a negative sign, this one has a plus sign. How are we going to do this? That's right. One thing that which we have to realize is if I have A plus B times A minus B, we call it conjugate pairs. When those are multiplied, our product would have been A squared minus B squared. If you want, you can do the FOIL or distributive property, and you will verify that this is equal to this one. Knowing that, then in this case, when you multiply these two, our first term will be the first term squared, so we get 4 over 25x squared. That's what we end up getting. Sign in the middle will be negative, and second term will be the second one squared, so we end up getting 9 over 16 and y to the fourth power, because square of square becomes fourth power. So this becomes our final answer, which seems to be choice 1 for our answer. Alright, let's move on to number 2. What is the domain? You see, whenever you use the word domain, we are talking about the x values, especially if the function is y is equal to f of x. Whatever input value, that's basically what we're looking at. Here, then no matter how high it goes and how low it goes, it doesn't really matter. We just have to look at the x values. The leftmost value of the x is right over here, and rightmost x value would have been right over here because of this point. So therefore, if you consider everything in between, we're starting from -1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We end at 6. So -1 through 6 becomes our answer, which is choice 1. Not choice 2, because we are looking at x values. Alright, let's look at number 3. What is the solution set of this? Now, here, first thing which we can do is add 1. So we get 2 cosine theta is equal to 1. And when you divide by 2, then cosine theta is equal to 1/2. Now, the fact that this is our intermediate step, then we need to find the theta where cosine ratio will be equal to 1/2. Let's think about this one for a second. On which quadrant is cosine positive? That's what we have to determine first. Ah, that's right. First one and then fourth one. Now, then the value itself, when you look at this value of 1/2, for what angle of cosine would you get 1/2? That's right, the reference angle becomes 60-degree angle. Then we can draw the 60-degree angle here. On the quadrant 1, on the first quadrant, the reference angle itself is our answer. So one of our answers is 60 degrees. And then if you have to go for the fourth quadrant, yes, our reference angle is 60 degrees, but the value of theta is going from here, non-negative x-axis, all the way around to here. Then what does that become? It becomes 300. So our answer is 60 degrees and 300 degrees, which is choice 4. Number 4. Alright, how are we going to work with this one? Alright, you see, whenever you have a cube root, we need a perfect cube, such as this one, to come out of the cube root. Becomes x. So here, let's look into this one for a second. We have 64. What is 64? In fact, yes, that's right. 64 is equal to 2 to the 6th power, or you can write it as 4 to the 3rd power. Now, if you didn't think about 4 to the 3rd power, which would make things a bit easier, then I'll just use 2 to the 6th power, just for the study's sake. So we have cube root. Then here we get 2 to the 3rd power times 2 to the 3rd power. I can break each one into the perfect cubes, then each one of them would have come out. How about a to the 16th power? It's a bit tedious here. Yes, we can write down a to the 3rd, a to the 3rd, a to the 3rd, a to the 3rd, a to the 3rd. So we have 5 of them. That makes 15, and we have a left. Then here we have 2 and 2 comes out, so it becomes 4. 5 a's coming out, so we get a to the 5th power and cube root of a. That becomes our answer. Now, another way for us to do it is this. Cube root is 1/3 as an exponent. I'm just going to use the red one. So second method would have been this way. 2 to the 6th power and a to the 16th power raised by 1/3. Now that means here 1/3 comes here, we get 2 squared. And 1/3 comes out here, we get a to the, if I have to put them into the mixed number, 5 and a 1/3, that's what 16/3 is. Then this becomes 2 squared becomes 4. A to the 5th power is a to the 5th power. And 1/3 as an exponent will be simply cube root of a. So that's another way for us to express it. Alright, let's look at number 5. Which summation represents this? Alright, so we're looking at 5, 7, 9. Wait a minute, we are adding 2 each time, isn't it? So this one looks like arithmetic sequences. Then the finding nth term of the arithmetic sequence many times will help us to figure out the summations also. So a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus m minus 1 times d. What is that equal to? So a sub n must be equal to a sub 1, which is first term, which is 5, plus n minus 1 times d. D is the common difference, which happen to be 2. So we get 5 plus 2n minus 1, which is equal to 2n plus 3. So each nth term can be expressed using 2n plus 3. Alright, then this one, now choice 2 seems to be our answer. Just to check, if you have to plug in 1, we get 2 plus 3 becomes 5. That checks out, okay. How about the last term? Last term, oh wait a minute, we have 20? That's right. If you put 20 in place of n, we get 2 times 20, we get 40 plus 3, so 43. So the last number represents the last term, and first number represents the first term, and then it checks out. So second one is our answer. Let's look at number 6. You see, we are looking at the angle with a negative 50 degrees. All right, it should actually have degrees, but when we have negative, you see, difference between positive and negative is this. All the angles on the standard position is measured from the non-negative x-axis, which is right over here. If you move up, which is the regular orientation, we call it positive orientation. On the other hand, if you go down first, that's the negative orientation. So we have negative 50, then we are looking for something that goes down by 50-degree angle. Oh, which is this one, choice 4, since we're going down by that much. All right, let us look at number 7 here. Now, you see many, we have to somehow combine the logarithm and then find out what x is equal to. A few quick things which you have to realize is that if I have rules, log base a of b plus log base a of c is log base a of b times c. See, when two logs are adding, we have to realize that they have to multiply. So as if we have, let me just change the one quick thing here. If they are dividing, then we need to oops, I'm sorry. If they are subtracting, then we have to divide by c. One more thing is, if I have log base a of b, and then c is the exponent of the b, then in that case c will come to the front and multiply the logarithm. And those are the three basic rules which you have to realize. Then here, first what we have to do is get rid of all these coefficients. Then we end up getting log base b of p to the third power here, and then minus log base b of t squared, because 2 comes up, and plus log base b of r to the 1/2 power. But what is r to the 1/2 power? That's right, that's a square root. So in fact, the next one is we're going to do the addition because of the parentheses. So log base b of p cubed minus log since we have to multiply these two expressions, we get t squared with the base b, but 1/2 as an exponent is just square root of r. Now what do we do with the subtraction? As you can see here, we got to divide the results here. So we get log base b of p to the third power divided by t squared square root of r. Now, you see x is the value or expression inside of the logarithm, then that should correspond to this one right over here, p cubed over t squared times square root of r, which is choice 4. Alright, let us look at number 8 here together. Which equation has the root with sum equal to 9 over 4, but the product equals 3 over 4? It says sum is equal to negative b over a, and product is equal to c over a from the ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0 in standard form of the quadratic equation. Now, then notice that both denominators are 4, and then we have leading coefficient of 4, so we can say sum must be equal to negative 9 over 4. Then product must be 3 over 4. In other words, a must be equal to 4. Then b, notice that negative b is equal to negative 9, so b must be equal to 9. So 4, 9, okay. The last one is what? 3. C must be equal to 3. So we get choice 1 becomes our answer. Oops. Actually, my bad. Here we have, I miscopied it. It was 9, so it's supposed to be positive 9 here. Then negative b is equal to positive 9, so therefore b must be equal to negative 9. Sorry about that. B should be negative 9. C is equal to 3, so we get choice 3, not 1. Yeah, somehow, I don't know why I miscopied this one. Alright, let's look at number 9. How do you do this one? In fact, I want to show you one skill which we can use. When we have absolute value of x minus a is greater than b, for example, you see, when you look into this one from definition point of view, it gives you a remarkable result right away. That is this. This means absolute value, you probably heard that absolute value represents the distance. So in fact, this means distance, I'm looking for values of x that are distance from a is greater than b. For example, on the side note, if I have x, absolute value of x minus 1 is greater than 2, that means from 1, I'm looking for the values that have the distance that are greater than 2. So then if this is 1, I'm looking at 3 and negative 1, but distance has to be greater, so I have to go further outside. Away from. Greater means away from this one. So that becomes our result. But if you apply that strategy for here, what's going to be happening is that, you see, we can multiply by positive 3 to both sides, because we can always multiply or divide by a positive number for the absolute value. Then we get 4x minus 5 is greater than 3. Now notice that this format has the coefficient of x as 1, so I have to divide by 4. Then what do I get? X minus 5 over 4 is greater than 3 over 4. What does that mean? It means from 5 over 4, I'm going to go up by 3 over 4. Then I get 8 over 4, isn't it? I'm going to go down by 3 over 4, then I'm looking at 2 over 4, which means basically 1/2 and then 2. That's what those values are equal to. But since it's I don't have any underlines, so I'm going to have open circle here. And distances has to be greater, so I'm going out in both directions. Okay, so then here, what's my answer? Choice 3 seems to be our answer. Now, which expression is equivalent to this one? Now, let's look at it. Only when we want to try to combine them together, we can only combine them by the same basis. So 3, I don't see any other basis with 3, so we get 3 stays. How about x? I have x to the negative 1, x to the negative fifth. That means since this is a division, what we can do is x minus 1 minus negative 5. You see, in division, we got to subtract the exponent. You see, subtracting the exponent. How about y? Y to the fourth minus negative 1. That's what we can do. Then here, negative negative becomes positive. So negative 1 plus 5 becomes x to the fourth. Negative negative becomes positive. So here we have y to the fifth over 3. So that becomes our answer, which is choice 1. Which graph represents the log base 2 of x? So here, if you have to use the graphing calculator, you'll see it rather quickly. So log. Now, if you have the new operating system, what you can do is you can press math, and you can go A for log base. Then base is equal to 2, and then expression is equal to x. And you can just go for the zoom standard, number 6 here. Then we get this picture. It looks like choice 1. So 1 is our correct answer. But what if you didn't have an updated operating system? Then what you could have done is the log of x divided by log of 2. That's the change of the base formula, and graph it. Then you'll see that you're going to get exactly the same thing over here. Alright, let us move on to the next question, number 12. A circle is drawn to represent a pizza with a 12-inch diameter. So if you have a circle, diameter is 12 inches. Okay, circle is cut into 8 congruent pieces. Let us assume that they are congruent. Alright, what is the length of the outer edge? So outer edge right over here. So we are looking for from here to here to here, that outer edge. Now, so there are a couple different ways of doing it right away. First one would have been, let's try to use the theta is equal to s over r. Now, in order for you to use this strategy, which is from Algebra 2, what we can do is, okay, what is the radian measure here, theta? The whole thing would have been 2 pi, but this is one out of 8 pieces. So we're looking at 1/8 of 2 pi would have been the angle measure, which is equal to pi over 4. But that has to be equal to, by the formula, s, which we are looking for. R is the radius of 6. And cross multiply, we get 4s is equal to 6 pi. So divide by 4, we get s will be equal to 3 pi over 2, which is choice 3. Now, but another method which we could have done is, can you figure out the circumference of this one? Yes, circumference would have been pi d, or 2 pi r, so we end up getting 12 pi is our circumference. But we are simply looking for 1/8 of that, so what we could have done is s would have been 1/8 of 12 pi, which would have been equal to 3 pi over 4, over 2. Okay, so another method would be still get to the same answer. For 13 here together. So find the solution set for the this given equation. So let's try to get started here. Since we have a radical, to get rid of the radical, we can square both sides. Then that means left side we'll get 5x plus 29. On the right side we're gonna get x plus 3 squared. Now of course, if you have to square the right side, we will get x squared plus 6x, don't forget the middle term, 6x plus 9 if you have to do the FOIL. On the left side, we'll end up getting 5x plus 29. Now, by subtracting 5x from both sides and then subtracting 29, then 0 is equal to x squared plus x minus 20. Now, we know that this one is factorable, as in the x plus 5 and x minus 4. So it seems like x can be equal to negative 5 from the first factor, and then 4 from the second factor. But now, we have to check the answer, just to make sure. For example, negative 5, let's look at that. If x equals negative 5, we have square root of 5 times negative 5 plus 29. Is that equal to negative 5 plus 3? On the left side, we end up getting square root of negative 25, plus 29 is equal to negative 2. And then we end up getting square root of 4 equals negative 2. But we know that square root of 4 is 2, not negative 2. So therefore, it cannot work. How about 4? 5 times 4 plus 29 is equal to 4 plus 3. On the left side, we will end up getting 5 times 4 equals 20, plus 29 becomes square root of 49. And on the right side, we will end up getting 7, so it works out. Alright, so then our answer is 4 only, which is choice 1. Number 14. When factored completely, what is this equal to? Now, so when we have 4 terms, many times it is quite convenient if you have to group first 2 versus second 2. First 2, we realize that x squared is common factor, so we have x plus 3. Now, how about the second one? We have minus 4 is common factor, so we have x plus 3. Now, but we realize that x plus is common factor now, so we have x plus 3. Factoring it out, then we end up having x squared minus 4. Now, then this one gets us x plus 3. And here we get x plus 2 and x minus 2. So our final answer is this one. I guess we are looking at choice 2. Let us look at number 15 together. What is the middle term of the expansion of this one? In fact, in this case, what they mean by middle term is if they were to expand this one and simplify it, and writing down the descending order of the exponent of x or y, it doesn't matter in fact. But that's what they were talking about. Middle term, therefore, in this case, we are looking at where x becomes 3 and y also has exponent of 3. That's what middle term is talking about. So therefore, we need to figure out the coefficients here. But generally speaking, if we have a plus b to the nth power, each term can be expressed as NCR, and a to the r power and b to the n minus r power. In fact, you should look into this expression because this is also useful for binomial distribution or binomial probability. But here, to get all the terms, we need to use the sigma notation where r goes from, interestingly, from 0 all the way through n. Now, then if you have to use that, then we are looking at a to the third power. That means first number to the third power, so x over 2 to the third power. And second number is what? A negative 2y to the also third power. And NCR is the out of 6 C3. That's basically what we end up getting. And 6C3 can be calculated using a calculator, such as 6 math probability here, number 3. Oops. And then you have to type in 3 here. Then you get 20. So that would be equal to 20. And x to the third power over 8. Because 2 to the third power is equal to 8. Here, negative 2 to the third power becomes negative 8y. So as we can, oh, I forgot the cube. So as we cancel out negative 8 and positive 8, we get negative. So we get negative 20 x to the third power and y to the third power. That becomes our final answer, which is choice 3. Let's look at number 16 here. In this case, we need to compose the x in function p, then n, and then n. So here, in other words, this is equal to n sub m sub p sub x. So what is p sub x? P sub x is equal to x squared. Then this becomes n sub m sub x squared. Now the function m is sine, so all we have to do is n sub, instead of x we're going to put x squared, as you can see. Then we're going to have, instead of sine of x, we're going to have sine of x squared. Notice that square is on x, not on sine. Now function n is simply 3 times whatever is plugged in, so therefore this our final answer becomes 3 times sine of x squared. That becomes our final solution, which is choice 2. Number 17. Now this is cosecant. What is cosecant? You see, cosecant of an angle is equal to 1 over sine of an angle. So basically what we need to do is get the sine of this expression and then turn that into cosecant by taking the reciprocal. So first what we can do is this. Since these are in degrees, make sure our calculator is in degree mode. And first I can calculate sine. Let me just go clear that. Okay. Sine of 138 degrees and plus 23 minutes. That means, well, converting 23 minutes into the degrees, what we can do is we can simply divide by 60. And that's basically what we end up getting. And we just have to get the reciprocal of that. So 1 divided by the answer, second, negative sign. Then that's basically our final answer, which is choice 5, 7, which is choice 4. Now, but if you don't want to use 133 plus 23, blah, 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 another way for you to do this, sine of 133 degrees. In fact, there is a degree sign right here. Second angle. Okay, and then 23 minutes. So type in 23. Second over here angle, number 2. And then if you press it, you see you're going to get the same value. And what we have to do is 1 divided by the answer. So we can do it in either way. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Number 18. Which function is 1-to-1? What the fact that it has to be 1-to-1, that means it has to pass through the vertical line test and also horizontal line test. You see, square is parabola. Whenever you have a parabola, it's not going to pass the horizontal line test. So this one is out. So is absolute value, because it looks like this. It's not going to pass the horizontal line test. So is perfect fourth power, because if you have perfect fourth power, you're going to get something like this. It looks like a parabola. Not exactly, but it looks somewhat similar to parabola. So this will be also out. Only thing that will be possible is choice 2, cube, because that will look something like this way. Now if you are curious, then you can put this one into a calculator and you can verify that it will pass through the vertical and horizontal line test. Alright, number 19. Conjugate basically means in front of an I, right over here, this sign has to be negated. So instead of negative 5x plus 4i, it would have been negative 5x minus 4i, which would be choice 3. Number 20. Now, what is the positive value of tangent of 1/2 of x when this thing happens? Now, you see all these values are decimal, so we can just use the calculator in this case. Now, what is the value of x? Let's look at it. In order for you to find the value of x, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna do arc sine. So second sine of the point 8. Okay. Now, then our angle is 53 degrees, and with the change. Then what we're looking for is tangent of half of that angle. So we're gonna go for tangent of half of that angle. Multiply that by half times that answer, which is second, this one, which is equal to 0.5. So therefore choice 1 becomes our answer. Alright, so let's look at number 21. Table below displays the result of the survey regarding the if the average number of the pets is 2. If the average is equal to 2, then find the value of k. Now, then in order for you to find the average, especially in this case we are looking at the weighted average, is that what we have to do is we have to multiply these two. And then we have to divide by the number of students. So when you multiply these two, we get 0, 6, this one is 20, this one is also 0, this is 4k, and this one is equal to 10. So when you add them up, that becomes a sum. Sum here is equal to 36 plus 4k. How many students do we have? Number of students is 4 plus 6 becomes 10, 20, 22 plus k. So in fact, what we end up getting is this. Our average being 2, 2 must be equal to 36 plus 4k over 22 plus k. Now, then when you cross multiply them, we get 36 plus 4k is equal to 44 plus 2k. Subtracting 2k from each side, subtracting 36 from both sides, then what we end up getting is 2k is equal to 8. That gets us k is equal to 4. So 4 becomes our answer. Number 22. How many negative solutions of the questions in this case exist? A simple thing which we can do is, because we have to the third power, maximum number of solutions which we would have is 3. But let's see what happens. If you have to put that into a calculator, 2x to the third power minus 4x squared plus 3x minus 1. Now the fact that it's equal to 0, what we are looking for is, we are looking for the x-intercept. So zoom standard, number 6. It seems like we only have one solution right over there. Only one time passing through the x-axis. So therefore, our answer will be equal to 1. Let us look at the next question. Number 23. A student finds that 80% of the local high school students text while doing homework. So 10 students, this is important, 80% and 10, selected at random, will be part of the process used to determine probability at most 7 out of the 10 students text while doing the homework. So at most 7, that means we are looking at 7 students, 6 students, 5, 4, all the way down to 0 student. So we're looking at many things put together. Which expression would be part of the process? So that means we are looking at n, c, r. Once again, we'll be using p in this case, p to the r power, and then q to the m minus r power. So if you're looking for 7, for example, it would have been 10 C 7, and then probability of success in this case would have been equal to 80%. 80% is 8 over 10, which is 4 over 5 to the 7th power. Q therefore becomes is 1 minus this one, which is 1/5. And then 10 minus 7 becomes 3. So this is one such expression. Do we have that here? No, no. It didn't make sense. And we cannot have 8 nor 9 because at most 7 includes up to 7. How about 6? What if you had to be 6? Then it would have been 10 C6, probability is 4/5 to the 6th power, because we're looking for 6 students doing it, and then 1/5 to the 4th power. So we end up getting choice 1 to be our answer. Number 24. Which interval of this one is inverse also a function? You see, in this case, we are looking for the principal value. Principal value of the inverse of the cosine, which in other words, if I were to just write it up, cosine of x, inverse of that becomes x equals cosine of y, which is equal to y equals arc cosine of x. In order for this one to be a function, our angle has to be 0 to the pi. Principal value is 0 to the pi. And in fact, one of the reasons is if you have to sketch this one, it will go up and down, and then if you have to cut from 0 to the pi, you will realize that it will pass through the vertical line test. Now, next question. Number 25. As shown in the table below, a person's target heart rate during the exercise changes as the person gets older. So this is basically what's happening. Which value represents the linear correlation of the coefficient? Now, then in that case, in order for us to get the linear correlation coefficient, then we just have to put that into our calculator first. So let's go for the stat, and then we're going to edit. We're going to clear that. Here we're going to clear this one too. Alright, now between person's age in years and person's target heart rate. So here this is 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. And here you get 135 and 132, 129, 125, and 122, 119, and 115. Now, then what we're going to do is this. We have to go back to stat, and we need to calculate. In this case, we are looking for the relationship between these two in linear regression side. So here, choice 4. And then if you don't type in anything, then we are assuming that this is x and this one is y. And coefficient of correlation here is right over here, negative 0.9991. So which is choice 1 becomes our answer. Alright, let us look at number 26. In triangle M and P, M is 6, N is equal to 10. Two distinct triangles can be constructed if the measure of the angle M is. Now, so let us try to look into this one. So, side M and then angle M is the opposite of each other. So here we have let us assume that this is N, and that's the just horizontal line. Okay. So, since these are the opposite of each other, I'm going to put this one as 6, and that's the angle of theta which we are looking at. Now, side next to that, it will be equal to 10. Notice that if the 6 here is shorter than the height that which we would have gotten, then in that case, we will not be able to get the two triangles. If 6 is greater than the height, then we could get one triangle this way, another triangle in this way. So for example, let us try to assume 50-degree angle first. Then in this case, if you have to be 50, our height would have been sine of 50 times 10. So let's look at it. 10 times sine of 50 degrees. That would have been 7.66. That would have been height of the triangle would be greater than 6. So therefore, we cannot even make the triangle. So 50 would be out. On the other hand, let's go for the other side. 35. In that case, what we could have done is this. 10 sine of 35. You see, then in this case, you will realize the height of the triangle is 5.7. That means one triangle would have been something like this way, because this length would have been 6. The other one could have been something like this. So that in that way we would be able to try to create two triangles with the angle of 35 degrees. And in fact, you could have used the law of cosine. So if this one would be 35 degrees, then it would have made sense. Law of sine, to figure that out, then you will realize that we can get two answers here and here. All right, let us look at number 27. If order does not matter, then this implies the combination C, which selection of the students produce the most possible committee. Then here, this basically means 15C5. And this one is 20. So why don't we try to look into this one together? So first one would have been 15. Math. Number 3. 5. That would have been equal to 3003. How about 5 out of 25? Okay. Then in that case, what we would have done is this. Second entry. Actually, second entry right here. Okay, we'll just go for 25. Oops. $25, choose 5. So in that case, we'll get a much bigger number. How about case 3, which is 25C20? You will realize they will be the same thing as this one. See, 25C20, it happen to be the same answer. Then let's go for number 4, 25C15. Then, in this case, you got the most values here. So our answer will be choice 4. Number 28. Determine the value of n in the simplest form. Here, what I want to remember is this. I to the 0 power is equal to what? 1. I to the first power is equal to I itself. I squared becomes negative 1. And I to the third is equal to negative I. And this cycle repeats itself. So what is I to the 13th power equal to? When you divide by 4, then remainder is equal to 1. So this will be equal to I to the first. Plus here, this is equivalent to I squared. So these numbers are the remainders when you divide by 4. I to the 31st is I to the third. And plus n is equal to 0. Then here, this becomes I minus 1, and this becomes minus I plus n is equal to 0. Then obviously these two cancels out. Then we end up getting negative 1 plus n becomes 0. That tells you that n must be equal to 1. Alright, we'll continue. In case of number 29, the formula for continuously compounded. Now, many times when you use the word continuously, it involves E over here. Now, where A is the amount, and P is the initial investment, R is the interest, and T is the time in years. Using the formula, find out to the nearest the amount of the account after 8 years if this much has been invested in annual rate of 3%. So all we have to do is simply plug it in. A is equal to P is equal to 750 here, because that's the money that we are investing. E to D. R was 3%, that means 0.03. Make sure you put this one into the decimal form. T is equal to 8 years, so I'm just going to put down 8 here. Now, so therefore, in fact, all we have to do is literally put this one into the calculator. Here we have 750 times E. E is right over here. Second ln. And then 0.03 times. Notice that with the new operating system, everything is on top or naturally. If you have old operating system, you have to put the parentheses around it. 8. And we just have to press enter. And that's basically what we end up getting. But it says to the nearest dollar, so we end up getting, this is approximately equal to 9.53. So $9.53 is what we're looking for. Alright, let us look at number 30. They want us to express this one in terms of sine theta. So here, I want you to realize that this secant is 1 over cosecant, 1 over cosine. So we end up having cosine theta times 1 over cosine theta minus cosine theta. So as you distribute cosine to both of them, we end up getting cosine theta over cosine theta minus cosine squared theta. Now, obviously we realize that that's equal to 1 minus cosine squared theta, but we know what this one is by the Pythagorean theorem or Pythagorean identity. Where we have sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. This one is a very popular expression. We have to memorize that actually. So based upon this one, we realize that 1 minus cosine squared theta is in fact equal to sine squared theta. So therefore, our answer is sine squared theta. Alright, let's look at number 31. A cup of soup is left on the countertop to cool. So this is a table that we see here. Now, write an exponential regression equation. Now, so basically what we're looking for is, here we have, go to stat, edit, and I'm just going to clear both tables. And here we have 0, 2, so 0, 2, oops, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Plug in all those values in. Here we have 180.2 and then 165.8 and 146.3 and 135.4 and 127.7 and 110.5. Alright, so I plugged in all the values in here. It seems to be correct. Alright, now then what we have to do is press stat one more time and go for the calc. And since what we're looking for is exponential regression, so we're going to go down till we see 1. Right here, exponential regression line. So press that, and here if I don't type in anything, and then automatically it will assume that first list L1 is equal to X and second one is L2. So I'm just going to press enter one more time, and that's exactly what we end up getting here. but to the nearest thousandth. That means here, tenth, hundredth, thousandths. So that means this must be equal to 7. That's for A. Now, B, which is the base, tenth, hundredth, thousandth. Now that has to become 4 now. Then here we get Y is equal to A, which is 180.377 to the base, which is equal to 0.954 to the x power. So you see they give you the value of A and B, so we just plugged in to the nearest thousandth. Alright, so that's it. Let's look at number 32. Find to the nearest tenth the radian measure of this one. Radian measure is simply radian measure over degree measure is equal to, that ratio is pi over 180. So if you remember this formula, so in place of the angle degree, we're going to put 216. So I'm going to put x over 216 because I'm looking for the radian measures. Pi over 180. Notice that they want us to express our answer to the nearest tenth. That means don't keep pi as pi, but they want us to actually calculate. So here we get, by cross multiplication, we get 180, x equals 216 pi. Of course, x then is equal to 216 pi divided by 180. Once again, because they simply telling us to use the calculator by saying the word nearest tenth, we're just going to put that into our calculator and get the answer. 216 times pi divided by 180. There it goes. So to the nearest tenth will be equal to 3.8 radian measures. Alright, let's look at number 33. Find the third term. So you see the recursive sequence basically means re means before, cursive means things that happened before. Based upon things that happened before, we should be able to find out the sequences. You see k plus 1, that simply means the term after this term k. Then this always tells us the term after the given term. So since what's given term is the first term, then we should be able to get the second term based upon this formula. So here we get a second, a sub 2 is equal to 2 times a sub 1 minus 1. You see this one is 1 greater than this one, 2 and 1. Then that's equal to 2 times, what is a sub 1? That's equal to 3 based upon the given, minus 1. Then what we end up getting, 2 times 3 becomes 6 minus 1 becomes 5. So we realize that a sub 2 is equal to 5. How about a sub 3? A sub 3 must be based upon a sub 2 by having 2 times a sub 2 and minus 1. So 2 times, what is a sub 2? That was equal to 5, which we just calculated, minus 1, which is equal to 17. Oh, I'm sorry. Not 9. It was 5. So 2 times 5 minus 1 becomes 9. So 9 becomes our final answer. Alright, let us move on to the next question. Number 34. If the two sides includes an angle of parallelograms are 18 and then 22 and 60 degree angle. Find the exact area of. So how do you find the area of the parallelogram? It's simply AB and sine of C. In other words, two sides are A and B, and angle between them is C. So here in this case, what we end up getting is those two sides, so 18 and 22. And then the angle between them is 60 degrees. So our area becomes 18 times 22 times sine of 60 degree angle. So what is sine of 60? So 18 times 22 times radical 3 over 2. Then obviously we can cancel out 2 here, becomes 11. Then what is 18 times 11? That's equal to 198 radical 3. And that becomes our final answer. Alright, let's look at number 35. Write an equation for the graph shown below. Now, in fact, there are infinitely many answers. but what they intended to do was in fact going with the sine curve. You see, it looks like S shape. So that's what they wanted you to do, but in fact, know that there are infinitely many answers. We could even express this answer with the cosine also. But anyways, we're going to stick with the sine. So we have we're going to use a sine curve, so I'm just going to write that as sin. Now, what is my period here? My period is pi. Then what's my frequency? Frequency is 2 pi over period, which is pi, which is equal to 2. So 2 is the number goes in front of x. So we get 2x. Since we don't have any horizontal shift, so we're just going to close that as it is. And what's the amplitude? The amplitude is goes down by 3 and goes up by 3, so we're going to have 3. But since it's going down first instead of going up, so we must have negative 3 sine of 2x. And that's what y must be equal to in this case. Alright, and that's about it. Let's move on to the next question, number 36. How can we express this one in simplest form? Best thing is for us to, in fact, express everything by factored form. So here we get 2 plus x, 2 minus x. On the bottom here, which two numbers multiply to? 12, but add up to 7, it is x plus 3 and x plus 4. On the bottom here, 2 is a common factor. We have 2 x minus 2 over x plus 3. Now, obviously what we can do is we can multiply top and bottom by x plus 3, x plus 4. Because that's the common denominator, x plus 3. Now, then we get to realize that these both cancels out here. But here we get to realize that x plus 3 cancels out. This one survives. In other words, we get 2 plus x times 2 minus x over 2 times x minus 2 and x plus 4. Alright, so everything doesn't look the same except this one. You see this one is 2 minus x, while this is x minus 2. So when you cancel them out, since the orders are not the same, while this one is positive, this one is negative. While this one is positive, this one is negative. So we just have to have a negative one as a factor that distinguishes these two. So then we end up getting, and there's no other factors, so we end up getting negative 2 minus x over 2 times x plus 4. So that could become our answer. Alright, number 37. During a particular month, the local company surveyed all its employees to determine their travel time to work in minutes. Okay, so these are the travel time in minutes. Determine the number of employees whose travel time is within one standard deviation of the mean. So we need to find out the standard deviation and then the mean. The way which we can do is put that into the statistics. So here, edit stat. I'm going to clear that. Alright, so we're going to put all these values in. So here it goes, 25, 55, 40, 65, 29, 45, 59, 35, 25, 37, 52, 30, 8, 40, 55. Alright, now then go for stat and calc, and we're looking for one variable stat. Okay, then it's assuming the L1 is the list which we are looking for. So if I just press enter, and this is what I'm end up getting. Our mean is 40, or average is 40. Standard deviation is 14.9. In fact, because they didn't say they didn't specify which one we have to use, then we just have to use the regular standard deviation, which is 14.9. Then from 40, if I add one standard deviation with a z-score of 1, in fact, will be equal to 54.9. And then what if we were to subtract 14.9 from 40? Then it would have been 25.1. So we're looking for numbers between 25.1 and then 54.9. So we end up getting these two doesn't work. This one works. This one doesn't work. Works. Works. 59 no. 35 yes. 25 no. 37 yes. 52 yes. 30 works. 8 no. 40 works. And 55. 55 is not quite there yet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are looking for 8 out of 15. So in fact, number of employees, so we are looking at 8. 8 is our final answer then. Alright, let's look at number 38. The measures of an angle between two restaurants and two applied forces are 60 degrees and then 45 degrees. And then the magnitude of the resultant is 27 pounds. So let's look at this one together. Measure of the angle between the resultant and then two applied forces are 60 and then 45. That means if I have, this is one force as an example, and that's the another force. So one, basically, well, let me just try to just use this one. How about that? Oops. Let me try to draw a parallelogram, for example. So if I do it this way, they might be better. How about this? So with one angle it becomes 45-degree angle, the other one is with 60-degree angle, and then the resultant is 27 pounds. Now find to the nearest pound of the magnitude of each applied forces. So in fact, what I can do is, since this is 60, I know that this is equal to 60 by the alternate interior angles. Now, then since this is 60, this is 45, then what is that angle? 180 minus these two angles. If you calculate them, then you'll end up getting 75 degrees. Then here, let's call this one as A, for example, and let's call this one as B, which is the same thing as this force, the second force. So then here, A over sine of 60 must be equal to 27 over sine of 75. I'm talking about degrees. So then A must be equal to 27 over sine of 75, but multiplied by sine of 60. So let's try to calculate this one and see what we end up getting. Mode has to be in degrees, which it is. Good. So let's look at it. So 27 times sine of 60, but we got to divide by sine of 75. So first one becomes 24.2. So to find to the nearest pound, then A becomes 24 pounds. How about B? Same idea. So B over sine of 45 must be equal to 27 over sine of 75. Then what is B? B must be equal to 27 over sine of 75 degrees multiplied by sine of 45. Now, then let's put that into our calculator and let's see what we end up getting. So 27, let me clear this one, times sine of 45 divided by sine of 75. So 19.7 something, but they're looking for to the nearest pound, so we end up getting b is equal to 18, I guess. I mean 20 pounds. All right. So let's look into the next question. Solve algebraically. So here, when you look into 81 and 27, we have to realize that the common base becomes 3. So here we get 3 to the 4th power, that's what 81 is, to the x cubed plus 2x squared. And here, the 27 is 3 to the 3rd power, and 5x over 3. So here, when we have exponent, we gotta multiply them, so we end up getting 3 to the 4x cubed plus 8x squared is equal to 3 to the simply 5x. So if I have to bring 5x in a little bit, then we end up getting 3 to the, or we can just simply say that exponents are equal to each other. So 4x cubed plus 8x squared must be equal to 5x. Then what we can do is we can bring over 5x. Then we'll end up getting 4x cubed plus 8x squared minus 5x equal to 0. Obviously, we can factor out x first. Then we end up getting 4x squared plus 8x minus 5. Now, let's try to factor this one. What do we end up getting? X is equal to 2x and 2x. And since we have negative 5, but our result has to be 8x in the middle term, so we could have plus 5 and then minus 1. Then in that case, we will have product of negative 1 and 5 becomes negative 5. And when you distribute, you will get 8x as the middle one. So here we get x can be equal to 0. Over here, 2x minus 1 can be equal to 0. Or 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. Here x is equal to 0. And here we get adding 1 divided by 2 becomes x becomes 1/2. Here subtracting 5 and divide by 2 becomes x equals negative 5 over 2. Now, so when you plug in 0, you will get 0 and then 0 here for the exponent. That makes the each side is equal to 1. So that's okay. How about 1/2? If you have to plug in 1/2, I'm just gonna do this one here, 81 to the 0.5 to the 3rd power plus 2 times 0.5 squared. And that's basically what we end up getting. Let's see if you get the same thing on the right side. So we have 27 to the 5 times 0.5 and then divide by 3 in that exponent. Okay, we got the same answer, so second one is correct. And in fact, if you plug in the third one, let's see. What I'm going to do is this. I'm gonna third one here, I'm just gonna put negative 2.5. Second, negative 2. All right. So negative 2.5. So I get this value. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Here we have entry. So here we're going to put negative 2.5. and we do get the same answer. So in fact, all three of them would have been correct answer. Alright, so that's it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.